without question, after 21 seasons of this save, the biggest episode of Non-League to Legend this year so far. We've got the FA Cup final against our old club, the first club we ever had success at, Southend United, who are still in League One. Plus, we're in the Champions League final against Barcelona, who haven't won the Champions League at any point during the 21 years of Non-League to Legend this year. This could be awesome, or the biggest bottle job in the history of the world. Hello and welcome to season 21, episode 11 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev. I'm wearing my Football Manager pin, and yeah, this is the big one. For those of you who didn't catch the bit at the end of the last episode, because I put it on right at the end of the credits bit that we do at the end, Man City actually won the Premier League before we had a chance to play any of our further games, so that's why I've played the last two games offline, rotated the squad a little bit. Liam Wells picking up a couple of goals. In the end, we did finish in second place in the Premier League, a record points total for Spurs, 86 points. Still finished 7 points behind Man City. It's going to be a tall order closing that gap next season. Ruben Iribarren very nearly not top scorer in the division as well with his 34 goals. Vatany from Man City hot on his tail. So, he's actually a full 5 stars. So, in theory, better than Iribarren, who's currently only showing as a 4.5 star. Have we no longer got the best player in the world? Iribarren finishes as the best player in the division, though, with Vendrig as third. And Iribarren and Vendrig, between them, 43 assists, which is just absolutely nuts. What a strike partnership those two players have been this year. Should we do what we did the year we bought Iribarren and just sign Vatany as well and have all three of them up front with Wells and Oscar knocking around? Let's just bankrupt the club. Why on earth not? Let's stop beating around the bush anyway. We need to get into this FA Cup final. What I wanted to do before we get into it is just give you an idea of what Southend have been up to since we left the club, because as those of you who've been around since the beginning will know, Southend were the first club to take a gamble on me in the Football League. We'd had a couple of fairly unsuccessful seasons at Gainsborough, but Southend decided to give me the job here. I believe that was where we started. Yeah, mid-table in League 2, and we went and won League 2. We then won League 1 the following season and secured a top half finish in the Championship, a record high finish for Southend. Since then, it's all gone a little bit wrong, and they got relegated 2 years after we left. Went back again after a couple of years, but a couple of years relegated again. Then have been stuck down in League One for a little while. Got promoted 2 years ago, relegated last year, and have just won League One again. So for what's that? For 1, 2, 3, the fourth time in this 21 years they've got promoted out of League One. Bearing in mind, that is where they start the save. They just had a worrisome first couple of seasons and ended up down in League 2. At the moment, I would argue I'm still the best manager in their history. The favoured personnel would disagree because I'm not on there anymore. I'm pretty sure I was on favoured personnel straight after the back-to-back promotion. Not currently on there. But I guess Chris Powell, who's the current manager, who's already a legend, by the way, as a player, is now an FA Cup final manager for Southend while they're still in League One. If the unthinkable does happen, he's going to be able to claim that he's a better manager than me as well, and that'll make me very sad. So, we need to beat them, and this is the team that we're going to put out there to try and do exactly that. I did toy with the idea of resting a few players, getting the likes of Liam Wells and James Burgess in the team, because we're only playing against League One Southend, and we've got the Champions League final against Barcelona next week. In the end, decided, you know what, if we beat Southend and lose against Barcelona, everyone will think that's about right. If we lose against Southend, you lot are going to absolutely slaughter me. So it's in the interests of my own sanity that we put the best possible team we can out against Southend. Make sure we beat them. And then if we lose the Holy Trinity to injury because of it and lose against Barcelona, then so be it. So the team is Igor in goal, a back four of Ribeiro, Eriksson, Aribi, Anandai, Sedman, Fiorentini and Zayatra in midfield with Oscar in behind, Vendrig and Iribarren. Look at the state of those goals from that front three. I mean, what is that? That's like 120 goals. That was really bad maths. It's near 110. But still, lots of goals in the front three. Plus, we've got Liam Wells sat there on the bench for 24 goals from 27 starts ready to come on if those three look like they're struggling. Ortega's not shy of a few goals either. And James Burgess is an England international goal scorer. So there's plenty of goals in and around the squad. But enough waffle now. We just need to get into this game. Obviously, there's nobody that we know from back in our time at Southend. It's close, 18 seasons since we left Southend? 17, 18 seasons. So, yeah, they don't remember me. I just about remember them. I still have a Southend shirt hanging on my bedroom wall that I need to get signed at some point. Probably should get on that. But, I'm really quite nervous. Right, let's just get into it. I can just imagine the amount of abuse I'm going to be getting from the Southend fans throughout this game, similar to how we've done with Spurs and like we've done to every club throughout non-league to legend, which is why it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that we're doing it again at Spurs. We ruined Southend financially. It's a reason we left to go to Hamilton, because basically the money ran out, and it ran out really quite quickly. So, yeah, I'm surprised they've done as well as they have to still be in with a chance. Era Barron's in! To still be in with a chance of, they are back up into the Championship again all these years later and doing well enough to be in FA Cup final, because I left on the basis that they're not good enough to be in the Championship. I guess they've found their level is somewhere between League One and the Championship, so I might have had a point, but where might they have been if I hadn't completely ruined them financially? Presumably they've recovered now, but we need to make sure they don't add an FA Cup win to their growing trophy. That trophy cabinet that's full of League One titles. Oscar's in now, and that would have been a little bit special, but rather than putting Vendrig in, he decides to shoot from range and it goes well wide. We are playing on an attacking instruction today for the first time, certainly for the first time this season. A little nod back to when we were at Southend before and we used the 4-3-1-2 with an attacking system. Plus the fact that, we narrowly missed out on the Premier League title and we've got the Champions League title, Champions League final next week, whereas Southend are in League One. So I think we're fairly safe attacking them. But we're half an hour in, we're only 1-0 up. They've not had a shot yet. But for as long as we've only got a 1-goal advantage, magic of the FA Cup and all that. Iribarra makes it 2-0 though. His 59th goal of the season. He's been at Tottenham, slightly less than 2 years. He signed in the summer 2 years ago. That was his 100th goal for the club. Has there ever been a faster 100 goals for a Premier League club? I know they're not 100 Premier League goals, but let me know down in the comments, has anyone ever got their 100th goal for a Premier League club less than 2 years after starting? Because that is just remarkable. If he completes that hat-trick today, he'll have 60 goals for the season before we even get to the Champions League final. The man is a machine. Ribeiro probably didn't need to give away the foul there, but it looks like the free kick comes to nothing. We've now had 17 shots and they've had none. I mean, we are being absolutely ruthless with Southend today, and it will be. I imagine the Southend fans actually don't care. I was going to say they'd be a bit disappointed to get to the FA Cup final and go home without even having a shot. But I'm just trying to put this into context of me as a posh fan. If we suddenly found ourselves in the FA Cup final, we probably wouldn't even be watching the game. We'd be so excited. We would be making more noise than any team has ever made at Wembley ever. What is going on the pitch would be completely irrelevant to our enjoyment of the day. And yeah, it just wouldn't matter. So they're having a great time, whether they win or lose. We're on a hiding to nothing really, because if we throw it away from here, we've got everything to lose. I'm throwing it's because I'm nervous. The cliche bingo is just vomiting out of me today. Medor. Actually, no. Let's bring Burgess on. Get him some minutes in an FA Cup final. Got the 2 English youngsters both on, hopefully to pick up their FA Cup winners' medals. Ortega, I mean, it doesn't really matter. We're still on attacking. I probably should have taken that off attacking at some point, but I think psychologically going into Barcelona next week, we can't drop down to counter-attacking against Southend. we've got to show that we know we're a good team. There's Iribarren's hat-trick. There is his 60th goal of the season, an FA Cup final hat-trick. That man is the best player I have ever managed in Football Manager in, 25 years playing this game. I just can't imagine I've ever had a better player. I've certainly never, in all my time playing Football Manager, ever had a player score 60 goals in a season before. It is utterly remarkable. Kind of worth spending, the £92 million we spent on him. I think he's justified that price tag over the last 2 seasons. And Southend have got a man over here. They have now had a shot. Can they get a goal? They can get a goal. Their day, they've got a goal in the FA Cup final. And apparently that lad used to play for Tottenham as well, because it said he'd scored against his old team. Oh, the romance is there. I don't know who he was. Was he here while I was here? We'll have a look at him after. In fact, we'll have a look at him now. Harris. Can we click? We can't. He's not clickable anywhere. I probably should have clicked him when we were on the pitch just now. I'll try and remember to look at him after the match. But we have won the FA Cup, as we blooming well should have done. It would have been a disaster if we didn't. Iribarren picks up his man of the match, FA Cup final hat-trick. He's over the moon. Harris, he's finished as top scorer in the FA Cup as well. Another little feather to put in his cap. And I want to see who this Harris chap was, who was playing for Southend. So, Paul Harris, 20, he was nothing to do with me. He was at Tottenham long before my time. And for a striker, you wouldn't pick him as your FA Cup final scorer as a League One team, would you? He's never scored a lot of goals, but that's something he can have framed and hung in his downstairs loo. But we've won the FA Cup. Let's have a look. Firstly, Paris Saint-Germain do one. You're certainly not having him for £73 million. We spent £91 million on him. He scored 100 goals for us in 2 years. You're giving us 200 million quid, or you're not having him. And even then, I'm not selling him to you. It's down to the board. It's got to clear our debts and then some in one go for us to even consider it. But what I do want to do before we go into the Champions League final is just check the status of the Hall of Fame. We do this after every trophy win. It's very important. Look at that. We've leapfrogged Uncle Herbert and a few others as well. Now the 4th most successful English manager ever. Breathing down the neck of Eddie Howe. I don't know what impact a Champions League win has on this. Whether we are in a situation where we could potentially leapfrog Eddie Howe if we win against Barcelona as well. I just want to see if we're still not on the nation one, so we won't be on the continent one either. So we've got a long way to go for all the probably more important ones. But nationality-wise, 4th best English manager of all time. Let's go and play Barcelona to celebrate. Injury disaster. One of the bigger ones we could have had, actually, aside from the Holy Trinity, maybe Uribe, Ribeiro. Okay, so it's sort of halfway down. But Igor's injured. He has... What's he done? Chest injury, lifting weights in training it was. He's only out for 4 or 5 days, but not even fit enough to sit on the bench. So Norman Howes, a 17-year-old youth team goalkeeper who's never been anywhere near our team before, is about to pick up a Champions League medal of some description, be it winner or runners-up. That's the only change. Diaz coming in goal. Diaz was probably already on his holidays. I think we've had to call him back. Luckily, he was on holiday in Amsterdam, where the final is. So, stroke of luck there. But Norman Howes is in the team. He's ridiculous. Let's get into the game anyway. Look, we've got to give a lad a squad number in the Champions League final. Has anyone ever had to do that before? A player who's never been in the squad before makes it into the squad for the Champions League final. Of course, we've looked good in training, apart from that moment when the weights fell on Igor. That was a bit of a downer. Barcelona have got a number 2 in behind their striker. That's troubling as well. Come on. Let's see what we can muster. We've gone control and flexible today. We, in theory, are the better team. We've both finished second in our respective leagues, but ours is a stronger league than theirs. We've got the best player in the world and the best player in Europe, which he's just won, Ruben Iribarren. So you would think that, certainly attacking-wise, we're stronger. I imagine they've got a better keeper than Diaz, though. But Oscar finds Iribarren, and there's his 61st goal of the season. We're 1-0 up in the Champions League final after 24 minutes, and Ruben Iribarren... I think Barcelona are one of the teams who are interested in him. So this game's rather important for securing his future, because, you know, if he wins the Champions League with us, there's no moving on from that. Why would he possibly want to leave? He's still only 24. He'd be a big part of me potentially deciding to stay, because I've still not decided what happens after this game, win or draw. Because we've got a penalty. Oscar's got the chance to make it 2-0, less than half an hour on the clock. Please don't mess up, Oscar. He's been a little bit off the boil lately. He hasn't scored as many goals recently as he was in that purple patch he had earlier on in the season. And because of that, I've basically talked him into missing that penalty. Presumably, you could hear everything I was saying there. Oh, the boss doesn't think I can do it. Ooh, and I'll miss. So we hopefully are going to go into half-time 1-0 up. Maybe, although the game seems to have slowed down as if something hideous is about to happen. But there you go, we're hitting half-time. 1-0 up at half-time. Just keep doing what you're doing, boys. 1-0 is a terrifying result, terrifying score for me, though, because I don't know what to do tactically. I know we can't just attack at Barcelona. Ruben Iribarren, 62 goals this season, 5 goals in this episode. The man is just a goal-scoring machine. We speculated in recent episodes that he might not be a big game player. I think he heard me and has decided to prove me wrong, because he's turned up against Barcelona. Unless he's considering this an audition, it's part of a long interview process. Barcelona haven't won the Champions League for 30 years. Surely if he single-handedly puts them out of the competition in the final, then he's going to be public enemy number one. That's ruling out one club he could potentially sign for. Right, Oscar's not had a good game at all. Ortega comes on for him. And in the midfield, we're going to bring on Medor. I'm just deciding who to take off. I think it's probably going to be Christian Sebman to bring on Medor, just to be a bit of a tackler in there. We've got, in fact, we'll drop down. We won't go all the way back. We'll drop to standard for now. And just see how the game takes shape, having only just scored that goal. If they score here, we'll go back up to control, because I'll be afraid. Medor, there you go. That's what we brought him on for. He makes and again, Medor. He wants a Champions League winners medal. He's a £50 million player. He wants to justify it by having something to show his grandkids. Right, now's the time to go to counter-attack. Give it 5 more minutes. We'll make another substitution. I want to get Wagner on in the midfield. So we're going to bring him on for Ziyech. Or do we bring Burgess on? Actually, Burgess isn't close to match fit. Where did Ziyech just get? Ziyech off. Wagner on. Let's see if he's got something special in his feet one more time. I know Wells and Burgess will be a bit miffed not to get a look in, but I want experience in this situation. And that's what Wagner gives us. Close it down even more. I'm not acknowledging the fact that we're 1 minute away from winning the Champions League, and it's been cruise control almost all the way through. And I think that might be it. We've won the Champions League. That is utterly ridiculous. I just got a Cup Streak Steam achievement, whatever that means. A famous quadruple. So this season we've won the UEFA Super Cup, the EFL Cup for the 3rd season in a row, the FA Cup, and now our first Champions League in the history of Tottenham Hotspur. And that is better than winning the Champions League. Ruben Iribarren no longer wants to leave the club. Give that... We'll give it a couple of days for that to sink in. Tottenham fans worship Chapman. Hang about. I like a bit of worship. Let's have a little look. He's only on the favoured personnel now. Excellent. I mean, to be fair, worship. First Champions League win. Legend. Just we've got to win the league to become a legend. I mean, what did these two do as managers? I know they were players as well. What did they win, though? We just won the Champions League. So, wowzers. Okay, we'll just have a quick look at the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of information that Paris Saint-Germain need to do one. They're not having him. Ugh. Oh, we got 12 million quid for it as well, but then paid out 14 million quid to the squad because money management. I mean, the projection is still horrific. We're still on course to fail financial fair play. Although, interestingly, the projection has us going slightly less in debt each season. So that's new. That's changed. Hopefully, we'll see what comes of this. If we have a points deduction, I might resign because I'm a monster. And realistically, I think having just won the Champions League, one more season at Spurs to try and win the Premier League before we move on and never come back to England. But if that one more season is with a 5-point deduction for failing financial fair play, there's just no point sticking around. We're not going to win the league in those circumstances. So we'll resign the moment the points deduction comes in, if that's what happens. So we're still in 4th place after the Champions League win. Eddie Howe, we're breathing down your neck, son. We'll have you next season. If we're still at Spurs, we'll win the EFL Cup for the 4th year in a row because it seems to be what we do. But that'll do nicely. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you pop a like on there for me. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. And thank you very much for watching.